Isaiah 55:9 says, "For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." It is Sunday. The Cowboys just lost to the Falcons, but it's also Sunday, and we need higher power to help us through this. Oh, God, the season just took a turn. Why?
Yeah, here we go. Here's it out for Lamb. He's got it. He's gone. This is history. It's never happened in the history of the NFL.
Oh, boy, guys. Oh, no. The Cowboys, they lose, man. They lose 27-21 to the Atlanta Falcons, but it's just not the way that we lost, right? It's just not that we lost. It's the way that we lost, and things, I mean, what it's Murphy's Law, right? Whatever can happen will happen, and things just took a brutal turn for this football team. And this season, it's draft season. You can see I'm wearing the draft cap because it's draft season. It's a waste of a year. And you know what's? We're halfway through it. We still got a whole nother game. We still got more games left. We still got the Eagles coming up. We still got the Texans, man. We still got the Commanders twice. We still got the Giants on Thanksgiving. Buckle in, Cowboys Nation. And I don't really need to tell you that because you guys are Cowboys fans. These last 8 years have been rough, but it doesn't take away from just how brutal this feels. I think most of the time Cowboys fans can take a loss because we're used to it. We're used to falling short, but when you lose your team, your playmakers, it's a whole different feeling because it just means that it's going to be really hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be rough. And Dak Prescott leaves this game, and we've seen him deal with a hand injury before. We've seen him deal with the bloody hand early in the season, but you saw his face and how it looked when he threw that ball. That hamstring injury was immediate. And the way that I described it on X while I was watching, if you're not following me yet, follow me on X at Tony Goat Romo, is it has to be pretty severe to just know right away on the sideline. And I'm, I think Dak's probably going to miss a good amount of time. There's just no way around it, nor do you want him to. At this point, you really have to consider that as well, that, look, we just made a huge financial investment in you. We're not going to allow you to go back out there and be at 70% going into next game against a rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm looking forward thinking Dak might be IR eligible, and we may be riding the Cooper Rush train for the next 4 weeks as we go into this gauntlet of a schedule where we got the Eagles, the Texans, the Commanders, and the Giants on Thanksgiving. Speaking of players who you want to protect and you want to protect that financial investment, CeeDee Lamb also was injured in this game and was dealing with the shoulder injury. Now, look, it was a bad game. We lost. It was terrible. It's awful. We're at the lowest point of the season. We've hit rock bottom. But I do have to give credit to CeeDee Lamb, and I believe he earned that 88 today. I think that's kind of the silver lining. That Cowboys Nation, we're aware of this team and how we have fallen short. We understand we haven't won a Super Bowl. We haven't even been in a Super Bowl. We haven't even gone to an NFC Championship game since 95. We get that. We're aware of that. But one thing that we do cling on to in the absence of that type of success is players. And we love players that represent the star. We love players that show tenacity, Texas grit, that really represent the Dallas Cowboy way. And when you see CeeDee Lamb go out there, when you know he's grimacing, you know everyone wants to hold him back, and he says, no, I'm going to put my helmet back on and I'm going to go back out there. I have to respect that. And I love that. That's what you want to see out of your players. And we saw with Trayvon Diggs today as well. I mean, he had a couple of bad plays. I know that. But for him to still give it a go on a bad ankle that has a tear, according to, Jerry Jones, for him to go back out there and still play for his team, even though he is injured and not 100%, I personally will always respect that. I will always love my players who put their bodies on the line. And even though they're not 100%, I mean, this is football. You're never going to be at 100%. And for star players, listen to me, for star players to not be 100%, but still want to play for this team and their teammates, that should get respect from Cowboys Nation. There are players who have done that and did do that today, and there are players who have not done that. I'll leave it at that. Regardless, obviously those are the things that we get out of the way with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott didn't necessarily have a bad game leading up to the injury, 18 of 24, 133 yards, 1 touchdown, but the real terrorist for this team is Mike McCarthy, and he should be gone by tomorrow morning. But unfortunately, I believe the injury for Dak Prescott just saved Mike McCarthy's seat for the rest of the season. I do believe Jerry was sitting up there in his booth thinking, we're going to go a different way tomorrow if we lose this game. And then Dak goes down, and now you can play the injury card. I mean, that is just the golden ticket for the Joneses. And I hate that more than anything. I hate it more than anything because the Joneses were on the hot seat every week, every loss. We were bringing it, and rightfully so. But now they can now say for the rest of the season, injuries. And you could already tell that they were using that with Micah Parsons being out, DeMarcus Lawrence being out, DeRon Bland being out. Now they get to use it more than ever because the two guys that you paid a lot of money to be your franchise cornerstones, they're most likely going to miss some time, and I'm talking about CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. It is criminal how much these guys, I'm talking about Steven and Jerry, it is criminal how much they get away with. How much they get away with. This is personal to me. These millionaires, billionaires are going to get away with the fact that they built a poor team. And they're going to tell you straight to your face, we didn't have a good season because of injuries. But if you've watched this team and if you're plugged into this team, you know it didn't matter if we had all the players out there. This team was never going to have the amount of success that they had the past 3 seasons because Jerry and Steven did not do a competent job of putting a good football team out there. They are going to use this as a scapegoat, and I hate that more than anything. They are going to get away scotch-free for another season, blame it on injuries, and they're not going to be held accountable. I hate that more than anything from what has happened today. I loved seeing them on the hot seat. I love them seeing stuttering on 105.3 The Fan because we had them dead to rights. And now this injury comes in, and it saves them. Because they will be able to say for the rest of the season, we didn't do what we wanted to do due to injuries. No. It's because you're a terrible general manager. It's because you went with the wrong head coach. Can we talk about that? Dan Quinn is 7-2 right now in Washington with a lot of Cowboy players and a lot of Cowboys head coaching staff. But Jerry Jones decided to stick with Mike McCarthy when he should have been fired. And just quickly, let me talk about that. Jerry felt like he couldn't fire Mike because it was mainly the defensive effort that broke loose against that game against Green Bay. So there had to be someone that take the fall. So it had to be Dan Quinn. When Dan Quinn probably should have been the option to replace Mike McCarthy and continue the continuity with this defense and the players and everything like that. Regardless, huge. I mean, that's a whole different thing. But I really, truly believe Mike McCarthy. Look, players win you games, coaches lose you games. That's a saying that is around the National Football League. And Mike McCarthy did more to help his team lose this game than help them win. Mike McCarthy it's done. It's over with. There are so many decisions that he made that were head-scratching, that didn't make sense. The choice to go for it on fourth down on the punt and pass it from anger to Goodwin when our backs were up against the line and Atlanta had a free touchdown. I mean, there's just no confidence that the defense is giving you up to that point to say, hey, let's go for this. And if it doesn't happen, I think our defense has our back. Our defense cannot even cover a cough. You cannot trust them at this moment. There is zero pressure. They can't get to the quarterback, even though Carl Lawson had 2 sacks. But it dwindles down to injuries, but also this team was not built well. We don't have the depth of the defensive line where we can get pressure like we used to. There's no Dante Fowler Jr. There's no Dorrance Armstrong. There's none of that. It's just a bunch of B players that these guys have handpicked to be on this roster. And back to Mike McCarthy. I mean, just no rhythm in this offense. Now, Rico Dowdle, 12 carries for 75 yards. Would you believe it? It's week 9, and we told you since the preseason, since training camp, that Rico should get most of the carries, and now you just figured it out in week 9. That's how incompetent this coaching staff is the fans could have told you by watching clips in training camp, Rico should be your number 1 guy. If you're not going to go out there and compete and get a guy like Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley because you're going to tell us that you don't have enough money, okay, let me see what you got back there. Okay, Rico, he's the guy. But instead, they gaslight you and they go get Zeke, who didn't even play today. And then Rico finally has another good game when you give him the ball primarily, and he has 12 carries for 75 yards. And last time you gave him the ball that amount of times, he ran all over Pittsburgh. So just incompetence is just surrounding this coaching staff, and it's led by Mike McCarthy. Jake Ferguson, 7 receptions, 71 yards. Who would have guessed? When you give the ball to someone other than CeeDee Lamb and you blend Jake Ferguson in there, you're going to have success. We know that. Ferguson was primed for a good year because we knew if you got him the ball, he could do good things. And they did that today, 7 receptions, 71 yards. But this offensive line is everywhere. This offense is out of sync. Injuries or no injuries, this offense, this team wasn't going to go anywhere. We knew that before the season. And you know what? It may sound crazy, but I actually felt like this game was in our reach. I felt like injuries are really going to cloud this game. I think a lot of people are going to look back at this game and they're just going to mark it off. Okay, Dak, CeeDee, they got injured. But if you really watch the game play by play, I mean, there was a legitimate opportunity to still win this game. I mean, there were chances at the end of this game, even when Dak was still playing. I mean, it's 14-10 coming out of halftime. There's an opportunity right there to regain the lead and snatch it back. But again, this offense just overthinks it, overcomplicates things, doesn't help its quarterback, doesn't run it successfully at the times that they're supposed to. The offensive play caller, Mike McCarthy, doesn't call the right plays. He doesn't call the correct plays in the moments that he's supposed to. It's just dysfunctional. And that's the word I've used to describe this team all season long. It is just an absolute mess from head to toe, this entire team right now. And you know what? In the great words of Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are, and the Cowboys are 3-5. And that's exactly where I would pin them. And now don't be crawling into the comments saying, well, you know what, back in 2018, the Dallas Cowboys were 3-5 and they traded for Amari Cooper and they went on to go to the playoffs and they lost in the divisional round against the Rams, but they did win a playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks. Look, there is no one out there trade worthy of Amari Cooper to help this ball club. And even if you did get someone, this defense isn't going to help you. Like I said, this defense can't stop anybody. There's no pressure. No one can cover on the secondary. And the offensive line, that's one of the biggest things. The game of football starts at both lines, the defensive line and the offensive line. Defensively, Mozzie Smith is your first-round draft pick and has been a massive failure. He had one good game against the New York Giants, but then he fooled us. He just not successful, a waste of a pick. Just didn't pan out the way that it was supposed to. On the offensive line side of things, I mean, Zach Martin is playing so poorly. That's an indicator of how bad your offensive line is played. And they're still playing Terrence Steele on the side, and they're picking on Guyton, taking him in, taking him out. It's a mess. And Tyler Smith, your all-star, your all-pro guard, is committing penalties when the ball is at the 1. And it takes the most dramatic thing for this team to score. It is pulling hair out, just this offense trying to score a touchdown. Just in the red zone, I'm clenching because I don't know what's going to happen. It is so frustrating and so boring to watch this team. And I mean, it's draft season. There's no way this team's going to continue to win or find ways to win. And I just hate this because the Joneses are going to have something to crutch on all season long. Look, we didn't win because of injuries. Look, we couldn't do this because of injuries. And that's just not the case because there just wasn't a competent football team on the field. And it's frustrating too, because I feel like, they could have won this game. Call me crazy. Like there were opportunities to win this game and gain the lead again. But the head coach, the offense, the defense, there's no chemistry right now. The offense can do something and the defense is going to give up something. The defense can get you a stop, but the offense is going to go 3 and out. Even the only consistent thing on this ball club right now is Brandon frickin' Aubrey, who we do not deserve. That man hit a 57-yarder after sending a guy to prison for 65 years at jury duty. God, man, it's just Cowboys are 3-5, and we're halfway through the season, so buckle up. It's not going to get any prettier. It's going to be something. There's a lot of question marks, and like this team isn't going to get any better. And it's such a waste of a season. And I think a lot of people could have told you that before the season began. Mike Zimmer coming back on a 1-year deal, or coming in on a 1-year deal, a prove-it year for Mike McCarthy on the last year of his deal, and you didn't add any players, and you didn't really draft well, and you didn't get a running back, and you're still holding tryouts going into week 9, and it's just, and now you're going into the worst part of your schedule. I think anyone could have told you this was coming, but now it's officially stamped and approved, because you're going to probably be without Dak Prescott for at least 4 weeks, because I think he's going to go to the IR. And I don't feel confident playing CeeDee Lamb for the rest for at least the next week or 2 weeks, because you just signed him. You don't want to ruin any of that, right? Frustration, but it's also, we've been here before. I think that's the reason why I'm not necessarily melting down like maybe you might see a lot of fans on the internet. Like, we've been here before. We did have 3 straight 12-win seasons, but before that we did have an injury season. It's the life of a Cowboys fan. We've been here before, and it sucks, and it's unfortunate, and it's terrible, but I'm going to be here for the rest of the season, man. I'm not going anywhere. It's just, and God. You're almost speechless, because it's like we're here again, but it's also very disappointing to see it all unravel this way. Kirk Cousins, 19-24, 200-plus yards, 3 touchdowns. Bijan had the day that you thought he would, 19 carries, 86 yards. Comment down below. What are you feeling right now? I mean, this is it. This is our team, and we're only halfway through the season, so buckle up. Mike should be gone, but I think he stays for the rest of the season. But that's all I got to say. I appreciate you guys for watching. I will see you guys later in the week. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Go Cowboys.
Yeah, here we go. Here's it out for